So today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of flirting. And obviously this topic applies if you're committed in a serious relationship. Otherwise, do whatever you want, flirt as much as you can if you're single. But if you are married or you have committed yourself to somebody, like if you're exclusive, then the question becomes, is flirting okay or not? And the question arises because some people do think it's okay. And we have seen things like that in movies, TV shows, where even married people go around and just like flirting with other people, and we find it actually really fun. We find it interesting. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely risky, and that's probably why it just seems more fun. But the question is it really good for you or not? So I would just discuss pros and cons, and towards the end I'll obviously I will give my own verdict too on this subject and things that I do personally. So yeah, I think let's just get into the pros and cons. And before actually getting into the pros and cons, I do want to just define loosely what I mean by flirting. Flirting is basically any way in which you introduce some romantic or sexual elements in your talks, in your interaction with others. So it can be just as simple as just constantly complimenting somebody on their looks or even body parts and giving facial looks. Like the old school ones could be like blinking and this winking, and even the subtle ones, and even adding sexual innuendos in your talks. Like, I mean, joking in a manner where you're just indicating something in sexual context. Like basically joking in a way that you wouldn't with your sister or your boss, unless you're flirting with the boss itself. So yeah, let's then get into the pros and cons of it. I'll start with pros. Well, one thing is obviously it is fun. I mean, that's why people do it. It's enjoyable. It adds spice to life, because monogamy is actually very difficult. Being exclusive with just one person, that's a huge sacrifice, and things can get monotonous in your relationship. And we are technically not wired to just desire one person, right? And that's why when you see somebody attractive, when you see somebody good looking or just your type, it's very natural to be inclined towards them and want to approach and do something with it. It's like your biological diktat. So because it's such a deep desire, when you engage in it, it's obviously fun. You feel some pleasure in your brain, and that is why it is so hard to resist also. So yeah, I mean, if you can get a life where you can just keep flirting with other people, of course it would on the surface seem more fun. So that is a pro for you, at least in that moment. Another one is attention, which is if somebody is flirting back with you, you find yourself more desirable, right? Because sometimes years pass and you don't get any romantic or sexual attention from anybody, because with your partner, things have probably cooled off a bit. The spark is not there anymore, which you felt probably in the first few months or years. And now you, who is still a sexual being, you would love that attention from somebody. And sometimes it just boosts your self-esteem. Sometimes it's just like a confirmation for yourself that, oh yeah, I'm still good looking. And who doesn't want to feel desirable? So when somebody flirts back with you, you feel that again is a pleasure. It gives you happiness, at least in that moment. So that is a pro too. And like I said earlier, it's not necessarily a pro, but it's a natural thing to want to flirt. So we can't necessarily say that you are doing something evil as such. You are just kind of playing out your own biology. However, these pros, these pleasures come at a cost, and let me discuss those. So let's start with the cons section. Well, first big direct con is that if you can flirt, your partner can flirt too. And sadly, so many people are just very hypocrites about this. Like, if I can flirt, I mean, that's fine because I'm not going to do anything else. They'll feel that, oh, things are in my control. I will not cross any boundaries. But they don't trust their partner to flirt with somebody else, because they're thinking that, oh, what if it gets out of hand? So basically the con is that it is not a scalable, sustainable solution. You really can't accept it when your partner flirts with somebody. You get jealous. So the idea is when you flirt, you are putting your partner through the same thing. They get jealous too. They are also playing scenarios in their mind. Oh, right now it's just flirting. What if now they're touching each other, or right now they're meeting somewhere or kissing, or what if it leads to some real connection, and what if the person runs away with somebody else? I mean, when the mind starts the doomsday scenarios, it can go anywhere. And with your flirtation, you're giving your partner reasons to do that, right? So the con is that flirting is a very difficult thing to continue if you make it equal for both. Okay, so remember that if you ever choose flirting, at least don't be a hypocrite about it. Be courageous enough to tell your partner that I am flirting and you can flirt too, right? But yeah, I'll get to that in my verdict whether you should do this or not. Second big con is you are simply adding temptation to your life. Now, of course, as you're going through flirtation of any kind, you enjoy that in the moment, but it is a temptation to do something more. It is a gateway to some bigger things, some more inappropriate things. And that's why it's more like you are unnecessarily testing your own character and resolve. A very common fundamental of behavior management, habit management is if there is something you don't want to do or something you want to avoid, it's best to keep it out of sight. So let's say if you don't want to use phone while you're studying, they say you put it in a drawer. Or if you want to lose weight and cut down on, let's say, unhealthy snacks, then don't buy them. Don't keep them in your house, because if you see them, you would want to do something. So flirtation is basically cheating opportunities just constantly in your sight, always accessible. It's just temptation to do further, to go further. And that's why if deep down you know that you don't want to cheat, then it's the best idea to remove all temptation that can lead to cheating. And flirting is one of them. Don't make it difficult on yourself to stay faithful. And final con, which is probably the most important one for you to remember, is yes, flirting seems really fun in the moment, but it's not fulfilling, because just like any other desire, you would just want more. So this applies to most other desires as well. That's what we say about money also, right? Money will solve a lot of problems in your life, but it is not necessarily going to deeply fulfill you, because wherever you reach, you may want some more and some more and some more. So money is important, but you should know the limits of it as well, because that's the nature of desires. If you get something, you probably want more. Well, of course, in some scenarios, some desires, when they are fulfilled, you're able to let them go also, but it's never a clear black and white. Like, you can't really say this about your desires that, okay, let me fulfill this and now it's gone. Like, I will never feel it again. So it may, even after experiencing a desire, its intensity may actually increase or sometimes decrease. And decreasing is usually happening only in the scenarios where you fully experience the desire. Like, if you fully go through with it, then you're like, okay, I've been there, done that. But sadly, that is not the case with flirting. With flirting, the deepest desire was always to engage in sex. That is what's driving you. That's written in your DNA. And flirting was just like a starting part of it. So just by flirting, nothing is fulfilled. You would want more and more and more until you get there. And once that you do have sex, then at least for some time you may tell yourself, okay, at least I did it. I feel fulfilled, or been there, done that. But then the desire may come again. But in this case, when you are in a serious relationship with a partner, if you want to be faithful, of course you're not thinking about going all the way. So please remember that this flirtation will never really be fulfilling for you. You are driven towards it, but just stopping there would not really serve any purpose. It may actually end up giving you more and more sexual frustration, because now you're just closer to the actual thing that you want. So if you're thinking that by flirting you can get out some of your sexual frustration, probably not. You may end up just intensifying it. And once it intensifies, you will be more likely to end up cheating full blown. And we know how detrimental that can be for your relationship. It can permanently damage your relationship. You may never recover from it. So many couples just don't. So my verdict is that flirting sure is fun. It's a pleasure, but it's not worth it. The downsides are too big and the pleasure is not deep enough. You can just write this off among all other guilty pleasures. I mean, drinking and driving could be fun for you in that moment. You know what? You're having a great time. You put on some music. Friends are in the back seat and you're just drinking and you're just rash driving. Oh, what an adrenaline rush, but huge downsides. So we avoid drinking and driving. Same for drugs, even stealing. I mean, stealing is fun, isn't it? You can get something without having to pay for it. It's the most fun thing ever. But if you ever get caught, you can lose your reputation forever. There could be big punishments. So in life, you already cut out so many pleasures that are unethical, problematic, unhealthy. I would say categorize flirting in one of those. Just stay away from it. It just makes life simpler. And another point here is, why play with the feelings of the most important person in your life? If your relationship really is the most important thing for you, which it should be, by the way, if it isn't, at least one of the top fundamentals of your life. So with that logic, your partner becomes the most important person for you in your life. Why would you want to put them through so much jealousy, insecurity, doubt because of just this superficial pleasure? Try to just stick to pleasures in life which don't take away happiness of the most important person in your life. So in that sense also, it's a huge win-lose. It's like a small win and a big lose. Don't put your partner through this, because if you don't treat them like the most important person in your life, you will have a suboptimal, unhappy relationship. Because if you can't prioritize your partner over other things, how will you get through the most difficult things that a relationship puts you through? How will you pay them the right love? How will you pay them the right attention? Give them love and respect? How will you sit through all the conversations? How will you sit through all the arguments and fights and really just hear your partner out if you don't think they're important enough? So yeah, for a happy relationship, you have to think of your partner as your top priority person and behave accordingly. And before I wrap this up, I do want to acknowledge something. What would be a scenario where flirting could be okay? Well, if both partners, first of all, know about this, so there's transparency. Both partners have equal right in flirting, so there's equality there. And both partners have done the, unimaginably difficult psychological engineering of being able to get over the jealousy when you see your partner flirting. If both of the partners are no longer jealous seeing the other person flirt, and finally, both of the partners have very strong self-regulation that it will never really cross into actual cheating. If all of those things are true, then I guess go ahead, you have my blessings. Go flirt as much as you can. But just from my experience as a therapist and my own personal experience, I don't think this is achievable. The zone is just so risky. Achieving just one of them is very difficult. Maybe first two are relatively easier. Let's say you are both open with each other, you both give each other equal right, but then getting over your own jealousy and making sure that you never cross that line, you never take it a step further. This is such a huge demand on your psychology that I don't think any average human can do that. I don't think I can do that. I don't think I've gotten over the component of jealousy myself. I can't see my partner flirting. So yeah, if somebody has achieved it, kudos to them. I have probably something to learn from them. And if you're listening to this, do let me know in the comments. I might actually personally reach out to you to understand how you did it. But I do want to recognize here that technically it is possible. So even I know if I applied myself today and took my partner along with me and we both sat down and we just tried to lay out a detailed argument behind both of those things, how to not be jealous and how to regulate yourself, just making sure that you never cross flirtation, developing that self-regulation, I know that it is possible. But why would I go through such huge homework for myself when I know that flirting in itself is not that fulfilling, it's not that fun? So yeah, right now the cost seems too high in proportion to the benefit. So yeah, I don't want to do this work. But yeah, I just wanted to recognize that possibility that technically there can be a scenario in some utopia where you can do flirting without causing any harm. So yeah, that's it for today. And I hope this made sense to you. And if you have any questions, doubts, or disagreements, or anything you really liked, please do let me know in the comments. And if I've left out some important component of it, that also let me know. And maybe I'll make another video on it. Thanks for listening. Shridhar Life School now specializes in relationship counseling. We start with an in-depth checkup or assessment of your relationship, your strong and weak areas. Now, based on that, our therapists will help you using world-class techniques and interventions, which have been developed after decades of research in marital therapy. It's always better if both partners come for counseling, but if for some reason your partner is unable to join, you can definitely start on your own. To book sessions, visit our website, shridharlifeschool.com.